Alright, so the next set of videos we're going to make is all going to be about setting up a guitar. Now, we're going to spread this out over a good few videos, and we're going to go into a good amount of depth on how to do this. And playing a guitar myself and being able to do all this setup work, I can really see the advantage in doing this. So I personally think it's something that every guitar player should have a bit of an understanding of, and should be able to tackle some of the issues that guitars have. Now, I'm not expecting everybody to be able to do everything, but I'm going to go through it step by step and show how it's done. And if you've got some tools at your disposal, you should be able to do this here. It doesn't take any more than a couple of different types of screwdrivers, and a couple of Allen keys, and maybe a straight edge and things like that. There's not a whole load of stuff you need. Oh, you need a tuner as well, so you need an electric tuner. Now, most guitar players will have them things. And I've got two guitars here in front of me. One is my own and one is a friend's, and this one here is the one we're going to be looking at today, and it needs a lot of work. The bridge needs set up, the neck is loose, and I don't know if there's any other problems with it, but whenever we get the guitar taken apart, I'm sure we'll find out anything else that's wrong with it. There's also the knobs are missing off these here, so they'll have to be replaced. But I've had a play at the guitar anyway, and it seems to be working okay, so it's not going to be a major thing to get it fixed. Okay, so I have started into stripping down the guitar. I've the head removed off it now, and once you start stripping down the guitar, you start to find more problems, especially when you take the string tension off. You can then examine these parts here, and you can see that some of these here are a bit loose. This is loose. This one here is okay. That's a wee bit loose, and so on. We'll also be able to check to see how straight the neck is with the string tension off. Now, this is just for my own purposes. I like to see, what sort of tension the truss rod is actually, exerting onto the strings, or is the neck really a good neck, and is it really holding up the way it should do? Right. Now, if you look at this here, you can see that I have put these here in. Now, I done this yesterday, so I did, and these have been drying overnight. Now, the reason why I done this is because whenever this guitar was screwed back together, I reckon it was put in with a hand drill, and they really, were driving the screws home, and then whenever the guitar started to loosen and the neck started to wobble, they were tightening them again and again and again, and I think they've damaged the screw holes. So rather than trying to find bigger screws and have them match, we're going to use the same screws that were on it. There's really nothing wrong with the screws, it's just the holes. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill these holes in with these here. Now, these are just wee offcuts of pine, and pine is fine because it's going to be supported from all sides, and I'm just going to cut these off flush to the surface and sand them down so it's a real nice smooth finish. And then we're just going to drill a wee hole in each of them, a very small hole, a lot smaller than the actual screw itself, and that way it leaves us that we have plenty of bite for the screws that are going to go in here. There's no chance that this guitar is going to have a loose neck by the time we're finished here. The frets on this guitar don't seem to be in too bad a condition. These frets down around here are worn out a wee bit, but not to the point where they need any work done to them. This is going to be okay for now. I could crown these frets off, and it would help the guitar play a wee tiny bit better, especially when it comes to vibrato. But this guitar has mainly been used for chords, and I can tell just by looking at the wear marks on this guitar that the D chord has been played a lot, because those are the most worn spots where the strings would be held down in a D position. It's more wear on that position than really anywhere else. The C chord has also been played quite a lot. So neck wise, that's really what's wrong with the neck, and it's just a matter of me now just, as I said, flushing this off, sanding this down, and drilling a couple of wee pilot holes for these screws to go back into. I also have to just tighten up these here, but before I tighten these up, I'm going to give them all the once over and make sure that they're working as good as they can be, because you can strip these here tuners down and lube them up a wee bit if you feel they need it. There's quite a bit of difference in one tuner and the next. Like this one here feels nice and tight, and it's still, there's no movement in it. This one here is really loose. This one here is nice and tight. It's really loose, tight, loose. So it's, they're not all created equally. Okay, I'm going to swing the camera around and we're going to grab the body of the guitar and we're going to have a look at some of the issues with the body as well. Well, the neck of this guitar is real wobbly, and I was thinking it was the screws that was the problem, but it wasn't the screws holding it in. It's actually, when they painted this part, they took it apart and they painted in here and they've stuck things into it and all sorts. So this needs levelled in here before this goes back in. Because if you look at the bottom of this neck here, it's completely, perfectly flat. But this is all over the place, it's all bumpy and it's not good. Okay, so I have the body of the guitar in my hand now, and you can see where the neck has been taken off here, and if I come up here good and close, you can actually see that this area here was really rough, and there was a lot of like thick, heavy paint just sitting there like in a puddle that had dried in, so that there would leave it that it was sort of, rocking on that high spot. Maybe that could have been one of the reasons why the neck never went down properly. Also, there was a shim put in this back corner here. I took that shim out. If this neck needs a reset, I'll do it the proper way, because a shim, there's not enough contact between a shim and you're going to lose vibration. You're going to be, losing vibration in here with a shim. So I'll put a proper full length shim in here if it needs it, and I'll wedge it back, if it needs it. But this guitar, the way it is at the minute, now I have smoothed this down quite a lot, but it needs sanded and it needs flattened, properly flattened. So it'll be a job for like the mouse sander or something. That's the only thing that's going to get into here. Alright, well I have put the neck into this vise, so I have, and these have been glued in, so they're completely dry now, and it's just a matter of me sawing them down and then sanding until they're flush. And for the sawing, I'm going to use this here. It's a Japanese saw, and it can be used as a flush cut saw because there's no sat on the teeth, so it's not going to really mark the surface of the guitar here. And I'm just going to be very careful about how I do this. So I'm not looking to go completely, 100% flush with this, but just cutting them off so there's not a whole lot of work left to do afterwards. And I'll bring this in a wee bit closer for the next one. So I put this down here, I'm just, tipping it so that the saw is about just half a mil or something off, and once you get it started, it just cuts itself, so it does. Okay. Now for the next thing is take a good sharp chisel. And we just want to work our way across these, and you want to do it in a purring motion like this here, and you want to work in from 2 or 3 sides rather than trying to cut it flush on the first cut. I've just changed the view of the camera. I'll bring you in a wee bit closer as well, so you can see the sort of thing I'm talking about here. Now, this was the one that I'd done a minute ago, so I'm going to move on to this one here. And as I was saying, you want to just sort of take a purring cut, and you don't want to just do it from the one end, you want to do it from, just work towards the middle from a few different ends. That's down enough. And you don't want to try and make it completely 100% flush. Like if I wanted, I could go in and remove a wee bit more from that, but there's no point. A bit of sanding can do that. Now this one here is a lot higher than the rest of them, and for this we're going to turn the blade over this way, and we're going to work down to it rather than trying to cut it all in one lump. And this really does work quite well. Like it doesn't hurt to take your time and do it right, you know. And this is what's known as a perm cut. It's when you start at one side of your chisel, put a wee bit of pressure on it, and bring it across, and the sawing motion just cuts the fibres a lot more easily without as much pressure being pushed into it, and it allows you to do more sort of finer work, you know. Right, now that we're down at this kind of level, we can turn it over so that the bevel's up. And I'll put the bevel down again. Now that we've got it flush, it's kind of flush around the edges, but with a wee peak in the middle when you do it with the bevel down, because with the bevel down, it cuts, the chisel cuts, but wants to lift off the cut. It doesn't want to cut deeper into it. With the bevel down, it kind of does. And when you put the bevel down, make sure you've got the chisel flat on the surface of the workpiece. We've got a wee bit of a high spot there just on this, so we need to come round and avoid that area. And as you can see, it really doesn't take too much, and you're left with a very good result. Now I'm just going to pause this, I'm going to grab some sandpaper and we're going to give this a bit of a rub down.